It was a quiet afternoon, the kind that usually felt normal, safe. Amara stepped outside, expecting nothing unusual, but the moment her foot touched the porch, her whole body froze. Her things were everywhere, clothes scattered across the lawn, her books lying open, pages bending in the wind, a small box of memories, photos, old letters, little things she had kept for years, spilled out like they meant nothing. One of her dresses was half in the dirt, like someone had thrown it without even looking. For a second she couldn't breathe. Her eyes moved slowly across the mess, trying to understand what she was seeing, but it didn't make sense. This was her home. These were her things. Why were they outside? Then she saw him. Chief Emeka stood by the door, arms crossed, his face cold, distant. No emotion. No hesitation. Like this had already been decided long before she stepped out. "Dad, what is this?" Her voice came out shaky, almost a whisper. He didn't move, didn't soften. Instead, he looked straight at her and said, in a flat, unforgiving tone, "You're no longer part of this house." The words hit harder than anything. Amara blinked like maybe she heard it wrong. "What? Dad, I don't understand." But he didn't let her finish. "I said what I said," he cut in, his voice sharp now. "Take your things and leave." Her chest tightened. "At least tell me what I did." Silence. Just the wind moving through her scattered life. And in that moment, standing there with everything she owned thrown on the ground, Amara realized something that hurt even more than the words. He had already decided she didn't belong anymore. Amara was still standing there, trying to process what just happened, when the door opened again. This time Lindayo stepped forward. Composed. Almost too calm, like she had been waiting for this moment. She crossed her arms and looked straight at Amara, a small, cold smile on her face. "Stop acting confused," she said. "You know exactly what you did." Amara frowned, her heart already racing. "What are you talking about?" Lindayo let out a short laugh. "The money, Amara. The cash that went missing from the house." "Don't pretend." For a second, Amara just stared at her. Pure shock. "What?" "No, I didn't take anything," she said quickly, her voice rising with panic. "I swear, I don't even know what money you're talking about." But Lindayo didn't even blink. "Of course you'd say that. There's no one else it could be." Amara turned to her father, desperate now. "Dad, please, you know me. I would never steal from you." But Chief Emeka didn't look at her the way he used to. There was no warmth left in his eyes. Just disappointment, and something worse, belief. "I didn't raise you like this," he said slowly. Those words cut deep. "I didn't do it." Amara stepped closer, her hands shaking. "At least ask for proof. Ask her where the money went. Ask anything." But no one asked anything. No one questioned Lindayo. No one gave Amara a chance. Her voice started breaking now. "Dad, please. Just listen to me for 1 minute. Please." But he turned his face away, like he couldn't even look at her anymore. "That's enough," he said firmly. "I don't want to hear any more excuses." Excuses. That word hit her like a slap. Tears filled her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not yet. Not in front of them. Because in that moment, Amara realized something even more painful than the accusation itself. It wasn't just that she was being blamed for something she didn't do. It was that the one person who was supposed to believe her didn't even try. For a few seconds Amara just stood there, her eyes full but her face still. Then slowly, she bent down and picked up the nearest thing, a shirt lying in the dirt. She dusted it off quietly, like nothing had happened, even though everything inside her was falling apart. She didn't argue anymore, didn't cry out loud, didn't beg. She just started collecting her life, piece by piece. Her hands moved fast, but they were shaking. She folded what she could, stuffed the rest into a small bag. Some things were already ruined, pages torn, frames cracked, but she didn't stop to fix anything. There wasn't time for that anymore. She could feel eyes on her. Neighbors had started gathering, standing at a distance, whispering. Some looked shocked, some curious. But no one stepped forward. No one asked if she was okay. It made everything worse. The humiliation burned deep. This wasn't just pain anymore, it was exposure. Her lowest moment happening right in front of everyone. Still she stayed quiet. At one point, her hand paused over an old photo lying on the grass. It was a picture of her and her father from years ago, both smiling, both happy. For a second, her fingers tightened around it. Then she slipped it into her bag without a word. When she was done, she stood up slowly. Her bag wasn't heavy, but it felt like it carried everything she had left. She turned her head and looked at the house one last time. The same house that once felt like home, now felt like a place that had pushed her out without hesitation. Her chest tightened, but this time she didn't let it break her. Without saying a single word, without waiting for anyone to stop her, Amara turned around and walked away. She didn't look back, because deep down she knew, if she did, it would hurt too much to keep going. By the time the sun started going down, Amara had nowhere to go. Her phone felt heavy in her hand as she scrolled through her contacts, thinking, hesitating. Most names didn't feel safe anymore. Some people would ask too many questions. Some would judge. Some would simply not care. Then she stopped at one name, Zinzi. She took a deep breath and called, "Hello." Zinzi's voice came through, normal, unaware. Amara tried to speak, but her voice cracked. "Can I stay with you? Just for a few days?" There was no pause. No questions. "Where are you?" "I'm coming." That night, Amara found herself sitting on the edge of Zinzi's small couch, holding her bag tightly like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. The apartment was tiny, but it felt warm, safe in a way she hadn't felt all day. Still, safety didn't erase reality. The next morning, everything hit her at once. She had no home, no support, no clear plan. Life switched to survival mode almost instantly. Amara started taking whatever work she could find. Small jobs, temporary shifts, helping at shops, cleaning, running errands, anything that could bring in a little money. Some days she worked non-stop, barely sitting down. Other days she waited for hours and got nothing. At night, sleep didn't come easy. Her body was tired, but her mind wouldn't stop. The words kept replaying in her head. "You're no longer part of this house." Over and over again. Sometimes she would quietly cry into her pillow so Zinzi wouldn't hear. Other times she would just stare at the ceiling, feeling empty, like everything had been taken from her in one single day. There were moments she felt like giving up. Moments where the weight of it all felt too much, too unfair. But every time she reached that point, something inside her refused to break completely. Maybe it was anger. Maybe it was self-respect. Maybe it was the simple fact that she knew she didn't do what they accused her of. So she kept going, one day at a time, one small step at a time. Because even though her world had been turned upside down, Amara wasn't ready to let it end like this. Few days passed like this. Work, stress, silence. Amara was trying to move forward, but something about the whole situation just didn't sit right with her. One evening, she was sitting on the floor with Zinzi, both of them eating simple takeout after a long day. The room was quiet for a while, until Zinzi suddenly looked at her and said, "Can I ask you something? Honestly?" Amara nodded slowly. "That money they said you took, did you even see it? Like, did you ever know it existed before that day?" Amara frowned. "No, that's the thing. I didn't even know anything was missing until she said it." Zinzi leaned back thinking, "Doesn't that sound strange to you?" Amara didn't answer right away, but her mind started racing. Strange. It was strange. "If money went missing," Zinzi continued, "why was there no discussion before? No warning, no checking. They just blamed you immediately." Amara sat up a little straighter now. "Exactly. And no one asked anything. Not even one question." The more they talked, the more things started to feel off. Too quick, too easy. Like the decision had already been made before the accusation even happened. Amara's chest tightened slightly, but this time it wasn't just pain. It was realization. "Zinzi, what if this wasn't a mistake?" she said quietly. "What if I was meant to be blamed?" The words felt heavy, but they also made sense in a way nothing else had. Zinzi looked at her seriously. "Then you need to find out the truth." Amara looked down at her hands. For days she had been trying to survive, trying to forget, trying to push everything away just to keep going. But now, something inside her shifted. Running away from it wouldn't change anything. If anything, it would only let them get away with it. She took a slow breath. "I didn't steal anything," she said, more firmly this time. "And I'm not going to let them believe that I did." Zinzi gave a small nod. "Then don't." For the first time since that day, Amara didn't feel completely lost. She felt focused. Quietly, without telling anyone, she made a decision. She wasn't just going to survive anymore. She was going to find the truth. Few days later, something small happened, but it changed everything. Amara was at a small shop where she had been helping out for extra cash. It wasn't much, just organizing items, cleaning, and sometimes handling basic payments. That day, the owner asked her to sort through some old receipts and transaction slips that had been mixed up. At first, she wasn't paying much attention. Just papers, numbers, dates. Nothing important. Then one name made her pause. Her fingers froze on the paper. Lindo. Amara blinked, thinking maybe she saw it wrong. She picked up the receipt again and looked closer. The name was clear. And right next to it was an amount. A large amount. Her heart started beating faster. "What?" she whispered under her breath. She quickly went through the rest of the pile, her movements no longer slow or careless. Page after page. And there it was again. Lindo. Name. Different dates. Multiple transactions. And the amounts, they weren't small. They matched almost exactly with what she had been accused of stealing. Amara felt something drop inside her chest. This wasn't random. This wasn't a mistake. Her mind started connecting everything. The sudden accusation, the way no one asked questions, how quickly her father believed it. It all started making sense in the worst possible way. "She knew," Amara whispered, her voice shaking slightly. "She knew exactly where the money went." Her hands tightened around the papers. For a moment, she just stood there, frozen between shock and disbelief. This was the proof she didn't even know she needed. But slowly, that shock began to change. Her breathing got heavier. Her eyes hardened. Because now it wasn't just about being thrown out. It wasn't just about losing her home. It was about being set up, framed, replaced. All the pain she had been holding in, the humiliation, the sleepless nights, the silence, it all started turning into something stronger. Anger. Not loud, not wild, but deep, controlled, dangerous. Amara carefully gathered the receipts and slipped them into her bag, her movements calm again, but different this time. Because now she wasn't confused anymore. She wasn't lost. She knew the truth, and for the first time since that day, she wasn't just hurt, she was ready. Amara didn't rush back home. She didn't call. She didn't send a single message. For the first time she chose silence. Not because she was weak, but because now she understood something important. Truth without proof gets ignored. And she wasn't going to be ignored again. That night, she sat quietly in Zinzi's apartment, the receipts spread out in front of her. Her eyes moved over every detail. Dates, amounts, names. She didn't just look at them, she studied them. Zinzi watched her for a while, then finally asked, "So, what are you going to do now?" Amara leaned back slowly, her face calm but her mind sharp. "I'm not going to argue with them," she said. "Not yet." Zinzi frowned. "But you have proof now." "I have pieces," Amara corrected softly. "Not the full picture." There was a pause. Then Amara reached for her phone. "I need someone who knows exactly how to handle this." A few minutes later, she was sitting across from a man in a quiet office. Barrister Kwame Mensah. His presence was calm, serious. The kind of person who didn't speak unless it mattered. He listened carefully as Amara explained everything, from the accusation to the day she was thrown out, to the receipts she had found. He didn't interrupt, didn't rush her. When she was done, he looked at the papers, then back at her. "You did the right thing by not reacting immediately," he said. "Because this is bigger than a simple accusation." Amara's fingers tightened slightly in her lap. "So what do I do?" Barrister Mensah placed the documents neatly on the table. "We build a case. Properly. Quietly. No drama. No noise. Just strategy." Over the next few days, Amara followed every step carefully. She gathered more information, kept records, noted every detail she could remember. No mistakes this time. No emotions leading the way. Everything had to be precise. Everything had to be undeniable. And through it all, she stayed quiet. No calls. No messages. No reactions. Because while they thought she was gone, broken, forgotten, Amara was doing something they never expected. She was preparing. And when the truth finally came out, it wouldn't be a fight. It would be a storm they wouldn't see coming. Exactly 10 days later, everything changed. That morning started like any other. Amara woke up early, tired but focused, ready to go through another long day. Her phone was lying next to her, silent like it had been for days. No calls, no messages, nothing from the people who had thrown her out like she didn't matter. She had gotten used to that silence. But then suddenly, her phone buzzed. Once, then again, and again. Within seconds it didn't stop. Amara frowned and picked it up, confused. The screen lit up with notifications, one after another, so fast she could barely read them. Missed calls, messages, voicemails. Her heart started beating faster as she unlocked it, and then she froze. Every single notification was from the same place. Her family, her father, her relatives. Names she hadn't seen in days were suddenly everywhere on her screen. She opened her messages, her fingers slightly shaking. One message, then another, then 10, and more. She scrolled up and up and up. 88 messages, all sent within a short time. Her breath caught in her throat. What? She whispered. Her father's name appeared again and again. Messages, missed calls stacked on top of each other like something urgent had happened. Her relatives too, people who didn't even speak to her before, were now texting, calling, asking where she was. Some messages were short. Amara, please call me. Others felt rushed. Something has come up. We need to talk. And some didn't even try to hide the panic. Please pick up. It's important. Amara stared at the screen, her expression slowly changing, because she understood something instantly. This wasn't random. This wasn't sudden concern. Something had happened. Something big. Something that made all of them, who had stayed silent when she needed them, start reaching out at the same time. Her grip on the phone tightened slightly. 10 days ago, she was standing outside their house, begging to be heard, and no one listened. Now suddenly, they couldn't stop calling. Amara slowly locked her phone, placing it down beside her. For a moment she just sat there in silence. Then she let out a quiet breath, 'cause deep down, she already knew. The truth had finally started to come out. Now, they needed her. Amara didn't reply right away. She just sat there, staring at her phone, letting the messages come in one after another. For a moment, she thought about ignoring all of them. After everything they did, she had every reason to. But then, slowly, she opened one message. It was from her father. Amara, please call me. I need to talk to you. Her fingers paused. Then she opened another. I made a mistake. Another one. I didn't know the truth. Her chest tightened slightly, but she kept reading. Message after message. The same tone. The same urgency. The same regret. Then she opened one from a relative. Everything is out now. Lindio, she's been taking money for months. Amara's eyes didn't move from the screen. Another message came in. She used your name to cover it. We didn't know. And just like that, everything became clear. The truth was no longer hidden. Lindio's lies had finally fallen apart. The transactions, the missing money, the quick accusation, it was all connected. She had been taking the money herself, and when things started getting noticed, she needed someone to blame. Someone easy. Someone she could push out without a fight. Amara. Her jaw tightened slightly, but she stayed calm. More messages came in. Some from relatives, full of shock. We can't believe this happened. We didn't know she would do something like that. And then her father again. Amara, I'm sorry. I should have listened to you. I didn't give you a chance to explain. I was wrong. That one message stayed on her screen. I was wrong. Simple words. But they came too late. Amara leaned back slowly, her eyes still on the phone. 10 days ago she was standing in front of him, asking him to believe her. And he didn't. Now the truth was right in front of everyone, and suddenly they all understood. The silence she faced back then had turned into noise. Apologies, regret, guilt, all flooding in at once. But as she looked at those messages, one thing became clear to her. The truth didn't just expose the lie. It exposed everyone who chose not to believe her. Amara stared at her phone for a long time, reading the messages over and over. Her father's apologies, the relatives' shock, the regret, every single one of them pouring in at once, trying to make up for 10 days of silence. She took a deep breath, her hand steady now. Finally she typed a reply. Not angry, not desperate. Clear. You believed a lie without asking me the truth, she wrote. She didn't add anything else. No explanations. No begging for forgiveness. Because she didn't need to. She had lived through the worst, survived it, and discovered the truth. She didn't need their approval anymore. She put the phone down. The screen went dark, silent, peaceful. Amara didn't go back home. She didn't pack her things again or try to make peace. That chapter was closed. What mattered now was her life, her choices, her future, her independence. Days later, she found herself in a small office space. It wasn't fancy. There were no big desks or luxury chairs. But it was hers, her space to build, to create, to grow. She sat at the desk, her laptop open, papers neatly stacked, plans unfolding in front of her. For the first time in weeks, she felt in control. She felt free. Outside, the city was alive with noise and movement, but inside it was quiet. Just her thoughts, her plans, and the new life she was ready to shape. No one to doubt her, no one to accuse her, no one to control her. Just possibilities. Her phone lay beside her, completely silent. And for the first time she didn't reach for it. Because she didn't need anyone's permission. She didn't need anyone's approval. Amara leaned back in her chair and smiled slightly, a deep sense of calm settling over her. She whispered to herself, almost like a promise, almost like a declaration. The day he threw me out was the day I stopped needing a place to belong. And with that, she opened her laptop fully, ready to begin. Her life, her rules, her future.